Hello and welcome to Joy Day 2021. It is truly an exciting day. It's a day that my team and I have been preparing for many months to bring you an hour full of joy. My name is Hanni Berger and I am the CEO of JOYVIAL. And in case this happens to be your first exposure to JOYVIAL, just know that we are a network of professional health coaches. The song that I just played is called Smile by Sidewalk Prophets. And there's a line, I don't know if you heard it, that says, life is going to pull you down, make it hard to see, but a little change in your point of view could be just what you need. And that's exactly what this hour is about, helping you get a change of view of the world. I'll tell you in a moment exactly what we're going to do in this next hour. But first, I want to get started right away with a question for you. So I have a poll that I wanted to ask you. So Tiffany, when you have a second, please, thank you so much. It already shows up on my screen. I'm going to ask you, how would you describe the level of joy today? Would you say, I haven't felt joyful in a while? Would you say, I know I should be grateful, but it's hard? Or I witness good things in my life ever so often. Or I am motivated to look for good things daily. Or you might be on the other end of the spectrum. I feel blissful every day. Let us know. I give you another 15 seconds before I ask Tiffany to end this poll. All right, go ahead, Tiffany, and share the results that you're finding from the group. I am motivated to look for the good things daily. That is wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. It helps me understand where you're at. I also do want to recognize that there are some of you that haven't felt joyful in a while, and that you know that you want to look for grateful things to be grateful for, but it is hard. And I'm also especially here for you today. So, what is the goal of our time together? Well, it's to inspire you to feel joyful. More specifically, we want to show you that you are in control of creating joy in your life. We will focus our conversation this year on gratitude, as quite frankly, it's the one of the most important habits and the most potent techniques to train your mind on to be happy. The setup for today is easy. In a moment, I'm going to invite some really amazing guests who I'll interview on all things gratitude. Then around 12:45, as I'm looking here at my clock, I will bring on two of our JOYVIAL health coaches who help our clients every day to feel more joyful, and I will ask them questions. Burst in between, I will give you tips. I will share research. Because I want to make sure that what we're sharing today is not just a song of kumbaya, but it's all based on science as well. Little housekeeping item, when you wiggle your mouse, there are a couple of things on the bottom of your screen. You have a Q&A section. Know that we have one of our health coaches behind the scenes that will answer your question. Specifically, though, the questions that you do put into the Q&A section. Then you have a chat functionality. The chat, I invite everyone to chat with everyone and to let us know what really resonates with you. Keep in mind, I might not be able to check the chat throughout our hour together, but I would love to hear what it is that really truly resonates with you, and for you to engage with everyone else. I actually will be able to read the chat after our time is up today. Okay, well, let's get straight into research. Research has found that when we express gratitude, our brain releases a hormone called dopamine, which plays an important role in many vital functions, including giving you the feeling of pleasure, reward, and motivation. This surge of dopamine it gives you a natural high, not just making you feel good, but it also reduces depression, anxiety, and the risk of substance abuse. And to get serious for just 1 second, gratitude is shown to aid in the prevention of suicide. So, regardless if you have felt lately a little depressed or anxious, or you simply want to feel a little bit more joyful than you are today, this hour is for you, and I'm glad you joined us. As said, I am excited to introduce you to 4 amazing leaders in our beautiful city of Atlanta here, and I would like to introduce them one at a time. Jill, if you can please turn on your camera. So glad to have you.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
Jill Ratcliffe is an author, executive coach, and leadership speaker who is striving to activate the highest potential in each person. With 25 years of Fortune 100 HR management experience, she today shares her knowledge on how to build your leadership skills through trust and collaboration. Wonderful to have you, Jill. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Hanny. I'm excited.
Then we have Daniela. Daniela, wonderful. Thanks so much. Daniela Campari is an accomplished marketing, innovation, and global expansion executive who has held a number of C-suite roles at the American Cancer Society, Coca-Cola, and now at Honeywell. She is also a sought-after speaker and guest lecturer, having given keynotes at Google and lectured at Emory and Wharton University. Hey, Daniela, how are you?
Morning, afternoon, everybody.
Wonderful. Next up, my friend Jennifer Cooper. Jen, with you. Here she is. Yeah. So Jennifer Cooper is the president of World 50, where she is responsible for CEO and C-level communities, serving more than 2,500 executives at over 700 companies, representing 30 countries on 6 continents. Jen was actually initially hired by the founders as the secretary back then in 2004, and today serves on the executive leadership team and leads a team of nearly 130 people. Jen, so good to see you again. So good to
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. And then our 4th guest today, also excited, is DeRetta. Hello, DeRetta. DeRetta Rhodes is the Executive Vice President and Chief People Capital Officer of the Atlanta Braves, overseeing people capital initiatives for the organization's Major League, Minor League, and the Battery Atlanta operations. Wow. Thank you to make really such your time for such an important topic. For me, super important, and it turns out for you really important too. So what I plan to do over the next 35 minutes or so is to ask each of you questions on the topic of gratitude. And Jill, I would love to start with you first. We had a chance to previously talk, and you told me about losing your younger brother just a few years ago and the impact his life continues to have on your view of joy and gratitude today. Would you mind sharing a little bit more with our audience?
I'd be happy to. And, you know, it's a story that when I first start talking about it, it sounds so hard, as much of life is. So I want to tell everybody before I even jump into it, it's a phenomenal story and it's a beautiful ending, although we did lose my brother. So Keith was 50 when he was diagnosed with an extraordinarily rare form of cancer. It was sarcoma cancer, which is 2% of all known cancers, and the type of sarcoma he had is 1% of all known sarcomas. So when he was diagnosed, I said to him, wow, when you pick a cancer, you do not mess around, right? And it started quite a journey, because sarcoma is a hypergrade cancer. Keith was, again, 50 years old, married to my sister-in-law, a beautiful woman, a dad of 2 gorgeous daughters, and was in the height of his life. He traveled the world over to work with companies to, as he said, like to say, help them get out of their own way. So he worked in the area of lean, which has a lot to do with, most of us think it has to do with process improvement, but as he said, when you are certified as a master in it, you learn that its origins really are in valuing human potential. by looking at lean, you don't waste work that human beings spent their good hard-earned time and effort doing. So when Keith got sick, they essentially told him to go home and get his affairs in order, that there was really nothing for what he had, and it would be a very short time. So the punchline to that story is Keith lived for 4.5 years after that diagnosis, and he really went on a mission to try to, as he said to me, I have to figure it out. There has to be something meant for this journey. There has to be something I have to figure out. And he spent that entire time working on figuring that out. And he took us, our family, his family, all the people and friends he has on quite a journey while he did. And so that is a reference to my book a bit, and I could speak about that all day, but let me just get to the punchline. One of the last things Keith said, and it was literally in the last week of his life when he was really, really quite ill, we were all around his bedside, and he looked at us and he said, joy. And we were looking at him and said, Keith, what do you mean joy? Like, and I have to share with y'all that what he had and the state and condition he was in is inexplicable in terms of the pain that went with his journey. So for him to be able to communicate so effectively and to constantly be delivering and talking to us about what he's learning by going through such a challenging journey, he just kept saying joy. And I said, what do you mean? And he just smiled and he goes, listen, you guys, it's all around you. It's all around you every day. And we were just looking and he goes, it's the smell of coffee in the morning. It's your children when they laugh. It's the feel of the autumn breeze on your face. It's a sunset. It's
Take a glass of water, please.
Whoops.
Sorry, go ahead, Jill.
So anyway, his message was, joy is not something that comes in waves. It's not something that you require something to happen in your life to create. It is something that's there all day, every day. All you have to do is notice it. All you have to do is choose to look and remember that it's always ever present. And for him, he said, wow, he lived a great life and he was a joyful man, but he said, if I had it to do over again, every day I would be blissful. And I would take the time to notice the joy that's all around me. So it was a powerful message. And Ted told me, you have to get out and spread this message. You know, you have to talk to people who are striving and struggling and trying to do things that they can do all that. They can strive and struggle and you know, achieve and do all the things you want to do, but take joy along with you every day.
It's amazing, this story. And I think I literally, you told me this before, but here I am, and I'm literally have goosebumps just hearing it. The examples that he brings as well, to smell the coffee and to feel the breeze in your face. And I think the message that I'm hearing here is, it's the most simple things in life that can bring us joy. And what I would say to everyone listening in is, joy and feeling gratitude is a choice. It really is a choice, and you have to take the first step in making that choice and trying to view the world from that angle.
I might not have believed it if I didn't watch this person who I've known my whole life and who I already knew was an extraordinary person. That was already a given. But to watch somebody you think you know go through something that is inexplicably hard, and to watch them be able to do that, like in that moment, it made me realize if he could find joy in that moment, if he could be laughing and smiling right up to the last minutes of his life, then it really is possible, no matter what your circumstances are.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Daniela, I want to come to you. What would you say you are most grateful for in your life right now?
Well, first of all, Jill, you know, it's I didn't know what you were going to answer. You know, we obviously knew we weren't going to be on here today together, but I don't know that I even told Hani, but that I had cancer 10 years ago. So hearing your story, and you probably heard me interrupting, was because I was like, Sophie, give me a glass of water, because otherwise I ain't gonna be able to say anything. Like my daughter. Thank you for sharing that, because, you know, actually watching somebody go through cancer, I believe, is oftentimes almost harder than the person that has it, because the person that has it has something to fight. They have something that they are, whereas people around, it's very tough. So Jill, thank you so much for sharing that. You know, what am I joyful? I think, you know, there's a couple of things. First of all, I mean, if I think about my professional life, actually, it's the people that have given me a chance to do a job that I had no right getting, you know, that I didn't have the experience for or whatever. And they just took a chance, they took a risk. And, you know, you never want to let them down. And I think I did okay in most of them, you know, but if those people hadn't given me a chance, then I wouldn't be where I am now. And I think in my personal life, it's my kids, it's the relationship that I have with them. And it's interesting that Jill talks about, you know, something that was really tough that actually ends up that you can actually even celebrate more. I remember being in the car with my son. It was about 14, 15, and we weren't talking, you know. This was the only time I got to be with him. And I actually verbalized it. I said, Cameron, we don't talk anymore, you know. He says, Mom, that's okay. So what do you mean that's okay? I said, well, Mom, I'm a 15-year-old boy and you're a mom. We have nothing in common. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, okay. You know, that for a mom, that was like, oh, shoot, what do I do now? And then he learned to drive and then he was gone. He went to UGA and we thought he was doing okay. Anyway, his first semester of his second year was extremely hard. And I got that call that nobody ever wants to get, because I'm like, he didn't call. I mean, he was doing his own thing. Yes, we knew he loved us, but it was a cry for help from him. He actually told me that he was drinking, and I think it was soft drug. I don't think it was the hard stuff, but he was using it to help him sleep because his friend had committed suicide. He'd fallen behind in his work, all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God. And so we went on a ski trip. We had it planned for a couple of days. I canceled everything. We were there for like almost a week, 10 days. And we talked and we figured stuff out and we haven't looked back. And we go on a ski trip now every year. In fact, COVID was good to us, bad, but good as well. We went skiing, I think 3 or 4 times together. And actually my husband broke his ankle, which meant he couldn't come. But it actually ended up, you know, even better. So, and then my daughter, she is a 17-year-old girl, and I hear some really tough stories about relationships. And she's the one that helped me choose this morning. She says, Mom, you have to put your joy jacket on, your happy jacket, you know? And again, you know, COVID has given us opportunities to spend more time with the people that we love, whilst, I mean, I've been promoted during it. So finding joy, and Jill, you mentioned those little things, you know, I have to keep reminding myself every time I'm with them, just being with them, like, is just such a gift, because they're at that age when they may not choose to be with us. And
yes.
And by the way, my son, happy ending. He's got 4.0 now. We changed his major. He's now doing landscape architecture and is like just so happy. So good story out of that.
COVID in general just has shown us the importance of relationships again, especially for some of us who live alone as well. I live by myself, and I realized the importance of connections with friends, with family, when you weren't able to go anywhere. And I think as a family, you had the complete opposite end of the extreme, where you were like overburdened with like family all the time. But the importance of relationships. So Danielle, I really appreciate this example. Jen, I want to come to you and want to ask you, what's your favorite way to express gratitude?
So, you know, I think that throughout my life and as I've really come into sort of practicing gratitude on a more regular basis, making that sort of a pillar of my life, I have ebbed and flowed between different methods to put that out into the world. And sometimes I think I make I make it a little too complicated, and I I do it a few times and it's big, and, I put a lot of thought into it, and it's just hard to practice that on a regular basis. And so I think my favorite way to express gratitude, and it's, the double-edged sword, I guess, of my mobile phone. And I in some ways think text messaging is such a gift, because in the middle of a crazy day, I'm running from, work to a volleyball game, I can reflect back on a meeting I just had and send a note that says, hey, I really like the way you approached that topic. Or, I really appreciated you showing up today and bringing good energy. And so I've been practicing that pretty regularly with my personal and my professional life, but probably more as I'm reflecting more on my professional life. But what I have found is that it's such a ripple effect. So I now I get those texts, but from others, and someone's taken a moment to say, just the simplest, like, thank you, a little window of appreciation, or I noted that you did that. And I think that really does, putting it out there, and also seeing the ripple effect of it coming back, it just changes your brain chemistry in really meaningful ways. And it's so easy to do. We're all busy, and we sometimes are guilty of saying how busy we are almost habitually, but you're never too busy to just pick it up and send a quick note and appreciate someone. So I just find that to be the simplest and easiest way to do it.
Yeah, and as you say, I mean, like, the moment you send it, there is something within you that's just like, oh, I just feel good. Like, you haven't even heard the reaction on the other side. You haven't even got the, oh, thank you back. It's just like, the brain chemistry. And actually, let me share something here. There's a recent Berkeley study that proves that those who express gratitude report significantly better mental health. And they practice for just 4 weeks. And so somebody might say, okay, practicing for 4 weeks, that seems like a long time. But here's the reason why, what really works and why it changes. Every time you think a thought, that thought goes down a certain connection in your brain. The more you think that thought, the thicker this connection becomes. So when you think negative thoughts over and over, it becomes easier for your brain to use that same brain wiring, which then leads you to more negative thoughts. So what you're describing, Jen, and what's so powerful about practicing gratitude is because it creates new brain wiring. And initially, when you have been thinking negative thoughts for a while and you're trying to switch, this is exhausting, because these brain wires are so super thin. But the more you practice, the thicker these new wires and these new connections get, and the thinner the old connections of your negative thoughts get. So the important part really is daily practice to keep doing it. So I actually have a sticky note on my nightstand, which is my daily reminder to review the day. I'm like, what am I really grateful for? So thanks, Jen, for that. DeRetta, I want to come to you. And I, in a conversation, I understand that your grandmother taught you really early on about the importance of practicing gratitude. I would love for you to share a little bit more about that with our audience.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because she was so impactful for me as a little girl. I would go to my grandparents every summer, and they lived on a farm. And I will always remember her saying to me, we would get up every morning. So every night we get on our knees and say our prayers. And then we'd get up every morning, and she would say to me, I want you to tell me 3 things you feel blessed about. 3. And it was one of those things that it became a part of what I do every single day, because I love the concept of practice daily, because it is one of those things that in order for you to use that muscle, you have to practice it daily. And I can tell you, when there are things that I've gone through, going through a divorce, the death of my grandmother, all of those things, it's kind of hard to feel like you have gratitude. I love, Jill, your story about your brother, because I too have a very dear girlfriend of mine who we lost as a result of cancer. And it's so funny from the standpoint that she emulated this just this incredible aura around her of just peace and happiness. And even though she was going through this very difficult journey, I think, Daniela, you make a good point. Those individuals that have it, they are really trying to reach out to us for us to have an understanding and blessing around it. So that's what grandmother always taught me. So I always keep that in the back of my mind. So I have a journal, and I make sure I write it every day, because there are some days that aren't as good as others, as you can imagine. And I also have another saying that says, you start each day with a grateful heart. And so that's another thing that grandmother would talk about the fact that, oh, it seems like things are so bad for you right now, but I want you to consider others. And she really poured into me around the importance of service as well, in terms of feeling and being grateful around the things that you have and how you can serve others. And so that has been such a mantra for me, and I still write. So as opposed to telling my grandmother every morning, I probably still talk to her, I still write down every blessing, the 3 blessings that I walk into each day. And if I remind myself and start my day out with that, it's much easier to deal with all the other things that come your way.
What a great story, and what a great practice. And I think, you know, if you're listening today and you know that you want to become more grateful, having a routine about it is really, really helpful, because again, it trains your mind to repeat certain habits over and over. So if, like DeRetta, you write it down in the morning, or if you, like me, in bed at night, just think about your day and you do that. Or like with Jen, you know, if making a habit to always think about who she can recognize in the middle after a project, or, you know, any small pieces that their team members are doing well. Make it a habit. Jill, I want to come back to you. So as a leadership coach and speaker, do you incorporate the theme of joy and gratitude also in your conversation and presentations? And if so, what advice do you give leaders?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to tag on to what DeRetta said, and that there's magic right there, which is it has to be a practice. Like, if you want to change anything that you do, you have to first understand that 85% of what you do all day, every day is a habit. You don't think about it. You just go through life doing what you always did, because we have a lot of habits. Think about it. If you needed to think about breathing, talking, interacting, driving your car, you would have no brain space left for anything. So it's a habit. So if you want to become a person who lives your life that way with joy, you have to figure out how to make it a habit. So I don't necessarily talk about gratitude, but I go in another door, which is to talk about, okay, how? Like, if I already know I want to be grateful, how? Like, how do I do that in my real life every day when I'm up to my ass in alligators and, you know, people are coming in all sides and screaming? So the answer is, you know, first of all, you have to recognize that any emotion, and gratitude, we'll pick that one, is a vibration. Like, all emotion is a vibration. That's why when somebody walks in a room, you can feel the energy they bring in a room. It's either high or low, it's happy, it's a vibration. So if you want to become more joyful and you want to be running at the gratitude level, you have to lighten up. You have to simply do whatever you can do to lighten up, like lift your energy up, be lighter. And so then people say, well, how do I do that? Right? So, and I would say what you do is you notice when you're not. You notice when you feel heavy. You notice when you're negative. You notice when your energy is pulled in or closed or down. And then you ask yourself, am I willing to let this go? Am I willing to let this go? Whatever it is that you're having a resistance to, a negative feeling about, a low energy about, am I willing to let this go? And if you then can say yes, then you just simply literally raise your vibration with gratitude, or with a phone call to a friend, or with a walk outside, or as my brother would say, get around something not man-made. Go somewhere where you can be in nature, even if it's for 5 minutes. Walk outside and breathe the air in, look at a tree, you know, look at an animal, look at a butterfly, something, and it will raise your vibration. And once your vibration is high, higher gratitude comes easily, right? It's much easier to be grateful once we get in the vibration of what gratitude feels like. So it's a practice, and you can literally practice that. Am I willing to let this go? And then lighten up.
What a powerful question to yourself. Am I willing to let this go? I think we can literally talk for probably another hour just about you know, the vibration of how we show up. And we actually, just so you know, we spend a lot of our time on our social media to really talk about energy and how you can change your mindset around it too. So I invite you to check it out. So Jill, powerful, powerful words. I saw somewhere in chat somebody saying yes and all, one more yes, yes, yes. So it definitely resonates with our audience as well. Yes. Daniela, I want to come back to you one more time. You know, most people, especially women, can much easier give gratitude to others. But often we don't really feel comfortable celebrating our own gifts that we bring into the world. Are you able to acknowledge your gifts and give gratitude to yourself?
Apparently not, because I asked my daughter. So, you know, as we were preparing for this, you know, and Hanny's done a phenomenal job with us all, by the way, everybody, you know, this just doesn't just happen. So Hanny, thank you for everything you did to bring us together and help us look good up here. And so Hanny had sent us the questions. So she called us, we discussed them, and these are some of the questions we might cover. And so I said to Sophie, I said, Sophie, just double check the questions for me. You know, we were coming for one. And I also asked, is it okay if I mention you in the first one? Because she's a 17-year-old and you got to check. And she said, well, the answer to the second one is definitely no, Ma. I said, what do you mean? She said, oh, Ma, you are not good. You never have any time for yourself. You never get appreciated. You don't reward yourself. You don't. I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm not very good at like accepting it. She says, you're good at giving it. You know, you're always like, you know, you always say how well we're doing or thanks for being here or whatever. She says, but you're not good at it. And so, you know, as I think about it, I try to figure out why. And, you know, I think there's no question when you give it, you get those highs. And there's no question that, you know, you feel good. I think when you give it to yourself, it's kind of tough. When somebody else gives it to me, oh my God, I mean, I even say to people, you don't have to pay me. You just give me some positive affirmation and I will do it. You know, I mean, I am like that. Great job. Thank you. Accepting it and maybe like actually liking ourselves and saying, hey, you know what? It's okay. You know, you are doing a good job. It's hard. And, you know, I think what Jill was talking about is how do we make it a habit? How do we practice it? You know, and maybe, you know, even just in the morning saying, okay, you know, you're here. Instead of thinking about what didn't go, because I don't know about you guys, but when I go to bed at night, I'm like, oh gosh, if I could just have done that differently. Or, you know what, it was another, Sophie's going to be gone. She's going to be at school in 12 months. And why did I think if I can just concentrate on, hey, this is what you did well, you know, and you're doing a good job and you made somebody really smile today. You know, you made somebody's days better. You know, my dad will say that. He says, you know, he says, you're like you know, you're a whirlwind in a positive way. You raise people's energy. And I need to enjoy that and actually almost like thankful for it. So that's the answer to that question. No, and I'm to get better at
that. I love the honesty because I think it really represents how most feel about this. And I've done a lot of research around why we react either through anger or sadness or anxiety to certain situations. And what the finding is that in our early childhood, your mind was trained to feel loved when certain situations happened, but also felt not loved when certain situations happened. So as a child, you may have heard that when you bragged on yourself, that somebody said to you, oh, no, like that is just not good. And you're like, who do you think you are? And so as a child, you make now a belief for the rest of your life that don't ever brag on yourself again, because I am not loved when I do that. I mean, we can, again, that's a whole hour conversation, but there's a lot of science behind that. One thing I would recommend though is, and I think that works for both, you know, Jen was talking before about that you're so really good about this in the office, and potential for even at the home, in home life, to do this more, and for you, Danielle, as well. There is actually another statistic that according to the study, that 90% of people, Americans, say that they feel grateful for their family, but only 50% of women, and I think even less, 40% of men, express that gratitude on a regular basis. And I want to actually, even if those numbers are accurate, because sometimes, you know, when we're in a poll, we're just like, yeah, sure, I say it. But here's an idea. Keep an empty jar, some scratch paper and a pen, either in the living room, your kitchen, and then every day ask everyone in the family to take a piece of paper and to write on it one thing that you and they are grateful for about one other person in the family, and drop it in the jar. And you might think, okay, I'm not sure I'm able to think of something every day. But if you push to do it, you actually will discover that the smallest things about your spouse and your kids that you don't necessarily even recognize, you start recognizing those. And then you may just read them out once at the end of the week or at the end of the month. And I will tell you, you will feel such tremendous joy hearing your comments be read out loud to the family members, and also for you to hear their feedback about you. So that's a structured way of doing it.
And I will have to add, it's so funny, I have a jar. We do this with my team every quarter when we get together. And so they get a jar and they get the strips of paper. And especially, as you all can imagine, and what type of year we had last year, especially in dealing with how people are engaging with what's going on. And I think, Daniela, you made a really great point. Life kind of shifted for everyone last year in terms of your time. But I also think in terms of appreciation, and I really needed to think hard about what that looked like. And so we have a jar that's on our desk. We have it every quarter. So you take out the strips that you had last quarter, you put them on another board, and they have to do it again. Now, daily I love as well. We do it quarterly because it reminds us of the work that we each appreciate each other for. But I think there's such a level of appreciation. And I love, Jennifer, what you said about just writing a note to someone, because even if an individual doesn't respond, I am in joy with being the opportunity and having the opportunity to do that for someone else, not looking for it for my own, you know, and I think that makes a big difference. So we have our jar as well. When we have those days, I say, take your jar out, what was said, what was written, so you can remember the value that you bring to everyone on the team and yourself. So I love that.
And I think it's about intentionality, right? The jar is there, so you know you do it. And so now you spend the time of actually doing it. So that's wonderful. Jen, I want to come back to you because and the question I want to pose is, just to be real here as well. Sometimes things are just tough and it's hard to feel grateful. What challenges are keeping you from feeling grateful?
Yeah, it's interesting because, honey, I remember when you called me and we initially talked about today, I had a moment of reflection and thought, I'm not acting extremely grateful right now in my life. And we joked, I remember telling you, like, you know, I have the same little mechanisms and the Post-it notes. And I was in a phase where I was like, you know, I would look at the Post-it note and just want to throw it away and wouldn't open my journal for days, you know, on end to write the things I'm grateful for. But that it was, I also trusted the process of it. And I've been practicing. I do love calling it a practice, but I've been practicing this for long enough to know to trust the process, that it will come back, and that my role in that is to start to notice the simple, small things. And Jill, you brought it up in your beautiful story about your brother. It was the small things. It was the, you know, the sunshine on your face and the, you know, I always make a point. One of my dogs does this funny stretch, and every time my dog does it, I make a point to smile. It's very cute, number one, but it just, I want to remember that I love that stretch and that little, you know, those little simple things I think are what, if you train yourself to see, Jill, as you said, notice when you're not feeling it, and B, look for the small things again, because the small things really do, you know, they're everywhere. They surround us. And so I think, you know, a little bit of that is just sort of, you know, within my organization, we're in the middle of bringing 4 companies together. That's a, you know, a challenge, an opportunity for everyone. But it can at times, and I think I was sort of, Hani caught me in the midst of that. And it's since that day, Hani, when we spoke about today, I would tell you every single day I've thought about that conversation. I think I thanked you that day for changing my pattern. And since that day, every single day I've been, you know, talking to someone on my team, and I've actually thought about what energy I'm bringing. And it's so amazing, the simple attention you put to it, and can really just make the difference. So I would say I just have sort of learned to trust the process and know, like, we're not all going to smile and be cheerful every day, and that's a ridiculous bar to hold ourselves against. Yes. This is about showing up as a real person and seeing other people as real people, and appreciating that.
Yes, and it's so interesting because Jen, when I every time we have met up to this point, you have this absolute positive aura for me. Like, when I thought about this event, for me, it was absolutely clear that I wanted to ask you to be on the guest here. But it also shows that each of us, sometimes we do put a smile on our face for the community, and there are things behind the scenes that are just still, we're dealing in pain, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at the pain. But to your point, I think sometimes it just takes a reminder. It just takes a reminder, and you're back on it. So, yeah, wonderful. So as we're coming to 12:45, I wanted to ask DeRetta, though, with our last minute here. There are so many things in life that are out of our control, really. How do you make sure that you remain optimistic, even in moments when things are out of your control?
So I think that's the great point. When they are out of your control, there's nothing you can do about it. The only thing that I can bring to any situation, and I love the word that we've used, is my energy. So if my energy is positive, my energy is of a giving heart, my energy is of generosity, then that's the energy I can bring regardless of what it is. So I can control that, and I cannot control those other things. And we deal with things every single day where people bring you things that you have to determine, okay, I need to put that one in a box. I can't control that one. I can control how I'm going to definitely handle that. And I think us with children and us with jobs, that makes a huge difference in terms of how people then engage with us. And it is important for me, for individuals to feel like I'm approachable and they're comfortable to be able to be themselves. And so in order to do that, you really have to put those other things in a box and just think about the energy you're giving to others.
Hani, can I just add something, you know, about that energy that we give to others real quickly? I just want to give a gift to everybody, and I want to say, ladies, go get tested. Don't delay. Get there early. There are certain things you can manage. I think you all know what I'm talking about. Don't delay. Don't wait until, you know, that annual checkup comes. Don't wait for somebody to send you the invite. Don't wait for somebody to tell you to go. Go get checked out.
Listen to your intuition, for sure. Yes, absolutely. So stick around for just 1 minute. There's one other thing, because I was wondering, you know, if at this point, if somebody still needs a reason to practice gratitude, I'll give you one more before I want to say thank you to these wonderful ladies. Research done by the HeartMath Institute actually has shown that intense gratitude practice for just 4 days, increases a compound in your body, which plays a critical role in reducing bacteria and viruses in your body. So this compound can increase by 50%. So in just 4 days, what I'm saying here is that gratitude makes your immune system stronger. And in the world that we're living right now, regardless before, but now even especially, we all need a strong immune system. So there are plenty of reasons to practice gratitude. Ladies, thank you so very much. This has been beyond my expectations. I loved your stories, and I can see in the chat as well how well they resonated. At this point, I'm going to ask you to turn your cameras off, and I'm going to switch over to bringing on two of our JOYVIAL health coaches to our conversation. First, I would like to introduce Liani. She is a health coach on the JOYVIAL team, as well as Lisa. Lisa, when you wave, I know your name actually at the moment says Lisa Engel. And so both of them are amazing coaches that work with our executive clients. And, you know, with the 10 minutes that we have left here, I wanted to ask you both questions on how you engage with our clients. So, you know, Liana, let me start with you. In our conversation today, which is all about gratitude and joy, I want to be thoughtful and realistic also that some clients that are coming to us are clearly struggling to feel joy. And I'm curious, how do you help a client work through the negative emotions so that they can experience more joy again?
Yeah, right. So the fact is that life has this share of disappointments, right? Losses and sadness that we experience. Life is suffering too. Negative emotions are going to happen. Trauma is going to happen. And no amount of positive thinking is going to change that. But what we do know and what the research shows is that after significant trauma, people can grow in many ways, right? So there's an increase in a sense of purpose, compassion, the way that they utilize their personal strengths. So as a coach, one of the more valuable things I think that I get to do with a client is to help them build and develop the muscle of awareness around their emotions. So to answer your question, when clients are experiencing a negative emotion, I might remind them that, like all emotions, it's data, it's a signal. And so I'll invite clients to separate themselves from the emotion, not to identify too closely with it. So rather than I am angry or I am depressed, I invite a client to consider rephrasing as something like, I'm noticing that I'm feeling angry, separating themselves from that. And because we know that the path to this kind of awareness is mind, body, and heart, I might ask a client to kind of describe where they feel the emotion in their body. So they might answer, I feel, you know, a tightness in my throat or a rock in the pit of my stomach. And again, you know, as we continue to keep going further and explore this data, I might ask a question like, what signal is that emotion sending you about what you value, right? So what is the emotion trying to express to you? You know, what need isn't getting met here? And then the question about, you know, this conflict or so-called negative emotion becomes an opportunity for optimism. You know, what am I meant to learn here, right? Where is there an opportunity for growth? What new thing is there to be created or manifested from this conflict, this negative instance? And, you know, so all that circles us back around to this idea of gratitude and joy, in that if we can kind of hold space for gratitude in all of our experiences, right? We can experience gratitude in that time as not just a switch that we get to, you know, turn on when things are going well, but we get to experience gratitude as a beacon of light, in a sense, when things are dark and difficult too. So.
I love that. Before I chime in, I don't know, Lisa, if you want to add anything to this, what Liani already said.
I would underline and just put exclamation marks around what she said, that there's such huge importance to that self-awareness of what's important to an individual. So highlighting and recognizing our needs so that we can, you know, so if there is anger, what's behind that? Is it because I felt disrespected? So does that mean that I need to have a conversation with somebody about how I was felt disrespected? So that there can be that perceived negative, you know, it's just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's negative. It can truly be a gift that generates the energy and the intention and the clarity to move towards that place of peace, that place of okayness, and the ability to be able to engage more fully with our bodies and with our lives. But that awareness is huge to be able to hold up for folks, to help them see this is being stored in my body and this is how it's impacting my life, and so that there can be an engagement to accept responsibility for that and begin to make change towards what's important to that individual.
Yeah, it's consciousness. Like when we talk about, you know, elevating human consciousness, that phrase is currently out quite a bit. And it is really about what it means. It's just becoming more aware about our thoughts. And that's what I'm hearing you both say. And when you have that awareness, you can actually, that's the only way to make a change. And it's interesting, you know, sometimes hard situations, like for me, a divorce in 2008, I was in a hole. I put myself in a hole for 2.5 years. Nobody else can do that for you. But without it, JOYVIAL, our company, would never exist. It was the heartache that propelled everything forward to something really, really powerful and good. So, Lisa, I want to ask you a question. You know, our clients are so unique. Everyone comes with their unique challenges, but also unique personalities. How do you elevate the joy for each individual, matching really with what their personality needs?
Well, I think part of the work is really holding space for that individual to identify themselves, that familiarity of what really matters to that person. And, you know, when we do the initial work, it's really getting a really broad picture of what's important to that person and how they see themselves as a healthy and well and happy and joyful individual. So one of the questions for me is always, you know, around like, well, how do you enjoy spending your time? What makes you laugh? You know, what do you do for pleasure? How do you enjoy moving your body? Those kinds of things. And sometimes the answers are, you know, a recent client loves to go to high school football games. You know, another one wants to go to the lake for the weekend. You know, so just being able to speak it to themselves, the more that familiar they are. Like if you move to Atlanta, you've never been here before, just moving around the city is not so comfortable. You know, whereas if I go to Oklahoma City, I don't know how to get around in Oklahoma City, but in Atlanta, I'm easily, you know, it doesn't require so much energy to move around. So just holding that familiarity for somebody so that they can have that intimate space of making choice.
Yeah, and if I hear you correctly, it's knowing yourself as well as you know Atlanta. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I mean, like if you just having that familiarity of yourself, how to navigate your world so that you can hold up what's important right now to you. You know, is it that I need to go for a walk, or is it that I need to eat, or is it that I need to connect with a friend or a family member or have a hard conversation? You know, just connect to that space in yourself that is recognizing and honoring your needs.
Yes.
Leonie, yeah, please chime in.
I'm sorry, I forgot that I was even. I really appreciated that, and what I'm hearing, the thought that I just had in that moment was that one of the best things that I think that I get to do as a coach is help people to know themselves and to really get to the places in themselves where they can tap into their own inner wisdom and find out, you know, what works for them. You know, I always approach my relationship with the coaching relationship in that with the belief that, you know, my clients are not broken nor needing to be fixed, right?
That's right.
And that they already possess everything that they have in order to be resourceful and to thrive, that they've already got it inside of them. And so our work is to really help them, you know, find that place. And so we do that with asking lots of questions and the coaching process. But yeah, so you know, it's really what people get to bring to their own lives and being able to pull that out. So yeah, sorry.
No, it is. I think awareness that then drives, and what I find with all of our clients is just that the journey to really getting to know what are your needs. What do you look like at your healthiest and best self in all areas of your life, and then, you know, take the steps to get there. So
can I just highlight what Jennifer said earlier when she was talking about trusting the process? You know, one of our recent clients, I used the phrase, the data is on the road, you know, this road that we're on, this journey. And that just like totally shifted. Oh, I don't have all of what I need yet to get to this place that doesn't exist yet. And that we can really just step back into the here and now and trust the process of things unfolding for us and in us, you know, that it is a process that we're all involved with.
Yeah. Ladies, thank you very much both. Again, I'd love to continue talking. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Leonie, Lisa, thank you for your time, for your wisdom. If you wouldn't mind turning off your video. And then, so you may have, right at the start, I have launched a poll. And I want to relaunch that poll one more time, because I want to see, how do you feel about all of this after an hour? Do you feel that you, there's more ease for you to feel gratitude on a daily practice? Tiffany, please go ahead and share that poll one more time. And we'll give it a minute or a couple of moments here. All right, Tiffany, do me a favor and launch the results. Wonderful. I am grateful to see that whoever has been, the few of you had been into, I haven't felt joyful in a while, that hopefully this has brought a sense of joy and given you the kickstart that you can do so much to get moving in the right direction. Certainly we're here to help as well. As I said before, check out social media. I have on the virtual background our links that you can find out more information. We post daily about exactly this topic. Joy is, there is a reason why joy is in our name, JOYVIAL. I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your day to make this a priority, to be intentional about wanting to make a shift to experiencing even more joy in your life. Thank you for showing up for yourself. And I am excited to see you throughout the year. And if not, then latest for Joy Day 2022 next year again. Thank you so much. Bye.